I never thought I'd have to protect my own property from my own son. 1 week strangers knew my inventory better than I did. The next I realized trust can be sold faster than metal. If you've faced something similar with family and money, share your experience in the comments. Listings came up faster than expected. One platform led to another, then another after that. Each page showed the same cars, photographed, cleanly described with care. Frame numbers were accurate. Service dates matched my records. One listing even mentioned the side door of the warehouse and the way delivery trucks usually lined up. That detail had never been shared publicly. A call interrupted the scrolling. "Is Thursday good to see the '69 Charger?" the man asked. "Who gave you that listing, Ethan Turner? He said he handles scheduling." The appointment was canceled before he finished his sentence. A short explanation followed, then a number for a refund in case money had changed hands. The man hung up without arguing, which made the situation worse. Ethan picked up on the third attempt. "I'm helping things along," he said. "Just temporary. I needed to move some money. You're selling property you don't own. I didn't sell anything yet. You listed everything." "Dad, it's family. I'll straighten it out." Requests to take the ads down were met with delays. One platform removed a post. 2 others stayed active. Ethan mentioned a deposit, then changed the subject. The conversation ended without agreement. Cars slowed near the warehouse the next afternoon. A pickup parked across the road longer than necessary. Someone walked the perimeter phone raised, pretending to read messages. A neighbor asked if there was an auction planned. The answer was short and ended the exchange. Dinner happened at a roadside place Rosa favored. She listened while stirring her iced tea. "Did you give him permission?" "No." "Then he's not confused. He's testing how far he can go." Her story took less than a minute. A cousin. A signature meant for emergencies. A house gone before the paperwork caught up. No advice followed, just a warning. If you don't lock it down, they keep taking. The office in Phoenix handled the facts without ceremony. Ownership was clear. Access didn't equal authority. Old emails and scanned signatures explained how buyers had been convinced. The lawyer outlined the exposure if a dispute escalated. Notices were drafted and sent before lunch ended. Messages from Ethan arrived during the drive back. Apologies mixed with pressure. He asked for time. Another call came, in this one from a buyer who had already transferred money. A refund was arranged. An explanation followed. The tone stayed professional even when the questions didn't. 48 hours were offered to unwind what had been started. It felt reasonable at the time. Another listing surfaced before breakfast. Then 2 more. Each platform carried the same descriptions, adjusted just enough to look original. Mileage matched. Maintenance logs were summarized correctly. One post mentioned a transmission rebuild from 6 years back, a detail that existed only in my files. Someone had taken time to study everything. A call came through while checking a forum. "Can I stop by this weekend?" the man asked. "I'm not selling that car. Your son said you were flexible. He was mistaken." The line went dead. A cancellation notice followed through the site's messaging system, then a request to confirm no payment had been made. The answer came back a minute later. No deposit. Relief didn't last. Ethan answered quicker this time. "You're overreacting," he said. "I'm lining things up, that's all. You're giving strangers access to my inventory. I needed cash, just short term. You needed permission." "Dad, it's family. I'm not stealing from you." The word hung there. Stealing hadn't crossed his mind, at least not the way he framed it. The listings stayed active after the call ended. A text arrived 15 minutes later. "Already have interest. One guy put money down. I'll fix it." Traffic slowed near the warehouse that afternoon. A sedan parked across the street, engine running. Another vehicle circled once, then pulled into a dirt turnout and stopped. Phones came out, photos followed. The gate stayed locked, but the message was clear enough. A neighbor waved while walking his dog. "Didn't know you were downsizing," he said. "I'm not. Guy online said you were motivated." The conversation ended there. No point explaining something still unfolding. Dinner happened at the roadside place. Rosa liked the one where orders were called out instead of written down. She slid into the booth across from me without asking. "You look busy," she said. "My name's on listings it shouldn't be on." She waited. My son posted them. The summary stayed brief. Platforms, calls, people showing up. Rosa listened, stirring ice around her glass. "Did you authorize any of it?" "No." "Then it's not a misunderstanding." She talked about her cousin without drama. A power of attorney signed during a hospital stay. A sale completed before the family realized what had happened. By the time lawyers stepped in, the house belonged to someone else. "No one thought it would go that far," she said. "That's how it always starts." Advice never came, only a statement. If you don't lock it down, they keep taking. Back home, more messages waited. Ethan blamed pressure, mentioned old bills, brought up sacrifices, words arranged to sound reasonable. A request followed. "Give me a day." The appointment with a property attorney took less than a minute to schedule. Morning traffic into Phoenix moved slowly. The office sat above a credit union, nothing impressive. Paperwork filled the table within minutes. Ownership records came out clean. Titles matched. The warehouse deed carried one name. "He doesn't have authority to sell," the attorney said. "Access doesn't change that." Printed emails told the rest of the story. Old accounts, scanned signatures pulled from archived documents. Real information used the wrong way. If a buyer sues, she added, they'll name everyone they can. Notices were prepared and sent before lunch ended. Requests went to each platform. A warning letter followed for Ethan. Messages started as soon as the car pulled back onto the road. "You didn't have to do that. I said I'd handle it. You're making this bigger." Another call came through. "I wired a deposit yesterday," the buyer said. "Your son assured me the deal was solid. A refund went out from my account. An explanation followed." The man stayed calm, but his questions cut close. "So he lied. He spoke without authority. That's not my problem." Pressure built fast after that. Time stopped feeling flexible. 48 hours were offered anyway, an attempt to slow things down without pushing too hard. "I'll fix it," Ethan said later. "Just give me the chance." Morning came with more traffic near the warehouse. A sedan waited by the loading area. Ethan stood nearby, keys visible, talking to someone new. Paper covered the conference table before the coffee cooled. Titles, registration records, insurance summaries. Each document landed face up, checked, then stacked again. The attorney moved through them without hesitation. "You're the sole owner," she said. "Every vehicle, the warehouse. There's no shared authority." Access came up next. The difference between having keys and having rights mattered more than expected. "He was allowed to help," she continued. "That doesn't transfer decision-making." Emails printed in black and white explained how things had spiraled. An old account I hadn't used in years. A scanned signature lifted from a maintenance authorization. Real VINs paired with real service dates. Enough truth mixed in to make the lies believable. He used accurate data, the attorney said. That's how buyers felt comfortable. The risk followed right after. If someone claims misrepresentation, they'll cast a wide net. Even if you win, it costs time and money. Notices were drafted immediately. Requests went out to each platform hosting the listings. A formal letter addressed Ethan by name outlining what he could not do and what would happen if he kept going. Signatures followed. Dates, copies made. The drive back took longer than usual. Messages waited before the car reached the freeway. "You didn't need to involve lawyers. This is getting out of hand." I know I crossed a line. Just give me time. No reply went back. A call cut through instead. I sent a deposit last night, the buyer said. Your son said everything was cleared. An explanation followed, careful with wording. A refund processed before the conversation ended. The buyer listened, then asked the question everyone asked eventually. So what happens now? That depends on how quickly this stops. Another call followed 10 minutes later, then a third. Each one required the same response, the same patience, the same reassurance. By mid-afternoon, the clock felt louder than the phone. 48 hours came up during the next conversation with Ethan. You unwind every deal, I said. You contact every buyer, you return whatever money you took. I'm trying, he said. People are pressuring me. They're pressuring me now. I need time. You have 2 days. Cars near the front row had shifted positions. A tarp lay folded where it hadn't been before. A clipboard rested on the workbench, papers clipped neatly, headings labeled with dates and prices. None of it belonged there. Ethan stepped out from between 2 vehicles, wiping his hands on his jeans. We're almost done, he said. Just final details. That wasn't your call. You weren't answering. I was clear. His shoulders tightened, then dropped. The tone changed. You don't get how bad it is for me right now. That doesn't give you authority. You always do this, he said. You shut down instead of helping. I asked you to stop. I'm fixing things. A sedan pulled up before the argument could go further. A man stepped out holding a folder, eyes moving from the cars to Ethan. This is the appointment, he said. 10 o'clock. It's canceled, I said. He looked between us. Your son confirmed it this morning. He shouldn't have. The man opened the folder, revealing a printed listing with notes in the margins. I took time off work, he said. I wired money. You'll get it back. That's not the point. Voices drew attention from the street. A neighbor slowed his walk. Ethan tried to speak, but the buyer cut him off. You said everything was clear, the man said. It was, Ethan replied. It wasn't, I said. The threat came next, delivered without volume. My lawyer will call. The sedan pulled away after a number was exchanged. The tension stayed behind. You didn't have to do that, Ethan said. I did. You're making me look like a criminal. You handled it yourself. His phone buzzed. He glanced down, then back up. People are getting nervous, he said. You're causing that. I'm ending it. A call came through from the attorney before another word landed. If this continues, she said, you risk being pulled into a civil dispute. Even if you're right, the process drags. The warehouse had turned into a liability. Each car, each listing, each conversation added weight. The place no longer felt like storage. It felt like exposure. Ethan leaned against a fender, arms crossed. You won't go that far, he said. What does that mean? You won't blow this up. Not with family. No response followed. Keys went back into my pocket. The gate closed behind me without comment. Rosa answered on the second ring. It's worse, I said. Then stop pretending it'll fix itself, she replied. I need a number. I'll send one. The sign didn't stay up an hour before the calls started. Not from buyers this time, from Ethan. He showed up before noon, parking too close to the gate. The door slammed harder than needed. He walked fast, jaw set, phone still in his hand like evidence. You sold it, he said. It's listed. You put the warehouse up for sale. Yes. That landed. Not quietly. Not all at once, either. His face shifted through disbelief before settling on anger. You're destroying my future, he said. This isn't your future. You know what I mean. I know exactly what you mean. The argument stretched longer than the others. No shouting. Just pressure, steady and personal. I grew up with nothing, he said. You were always working, always gone. That's not true. You missed things. I worked, so now I pay for it. This isn't payment. He kept going. College loans, jobs that didn't last, people who got ahead faster, every story angled toward the same point. I deserve some stability, he said. You don't get it this way. You could help. I have helped. Not when it counted. The line between accusation and memory blurred. A few things landed closer than others. That part stayed unaddressed. What did get addressed came next. The cars and the warehouse are not a backup plan, I said. They're not leverage. They're not yours to manage. Silence followed, brief but sharp. You'd really do this to me. I'm stopping this. You're choosing property over your son. I'm choosing responsibility. A message arrived while he stood there. A formal notice from the attorney sent again for clarity. The language stayed clean. If you continue to represent ownership or authority, this constitutes fraud. He read it, then laughed. You won't let that happen, he said. You don't know that. You won't send your own kid into court. The assumption sat heavy. Not because it was cruel, but because it was confident. I'm trying to fix this, he added. You're extending it. You didn't give me time. You took time you didn't have. The conversation stalled. He paced, checked his phone, took a call outside, voice low, words clipped. When he came back, the certainty hadn't moved. I can still close a deal, he said. No. You can stop this now. I won't. He left without another word. The paperwork waited at the brokerage office later that afternoon. No discussion about family, no commentary. Just forms, signatures, initials placed where they belonged. Authority transferred cleanly. By the time Ethan realized what had been signed, the process had already shifted out of reach. The sale moved faster than expected. Fewer phone calls, shorter meetings. Everything stayed contained, handled through email and scheduled blocks of time. The buyer didn't ask about history or sentiment. They wanted clearance access and timelines. A logistics company, regional, clean record. Their legal team asked for documents in batches, then asked again. Titles, insurance riders, environmental checks. Every question had a deadline attached. Ethan kept trying to hold his ground elsewhere. Platforms sent automated replies about disputes under review. Some listings disappeared. Others stayed up longer than they should have. Messages from buyers continued confusion, spreading faster than explanations could follow. Coordination with the attorney stayed constant. Send the notices today, she said. They're going out now. State clearly that prior agreements are void. They'll see it. Formal letters followed. Each buyer received the same language. No apology, no admission, just a statement of fact. Authority clarified. Transactions invalidated. A call came through mid-morning. They locked my account, Ethan said. That was expected. You told them I'm a fraud. You acted without authority. You could stop this. I already did. The escrow appointment filled a small office near downtown. Neutral space, fluorescent hum. The logistics company sent 2 representatives, 1 attorney. No small talk. Signatures moved the process forward in increments. Initials lined up where tabs marked their place. The deed transferred without complication. Ethan arrived late, breath uneven, folder under his arm. You can't do this, he said to the room. The escrow officer looked up. Do you have standing? I'm his son. That's not standing. The attorney slid a document across the table. Ownership is clear, she said. This transaction proceeds. Ethan leaned forward. Hold the keys, he said. Just pause it. No one responded. The pen kept moving. The final clause came next. Immediate possession. No grace period. Restricted access list attached. Names specified. Who's on that? Ethan asked. Authorized personnel, the buyer said. The keys changed hands. A receipt printed. Copies distributed. Outside, Ethan paced, phone pressed to his ear. Words spilled faster now. "They're closing it today," he said to someone. "No, I don't know." "No, I can't get back in." A locksmith van waited by the gate when we arrived. The buyer's badge hung from his neck. Instructions were brief. Locks turned, codes reset, access points sealed. Ethan stepped forward. "You can't just lock me out. You're not listed," the buyer said. "I've been working here. You no longer are." Another call went unanswered. Then, another. Buyers who had been promised viewings reached voicemail instead. "I need to get a car out," Ethan said. "Contact the seller's attorney," the buyer replied. Refund requests stacked up fast. Some came through email, others by voicemail. A few arrived through certified mail, formal and impatient. One buyer filed a complaint before the week ended, claiming misrepresentation and financial harm. Another threatened to escalate if money didn't return immediately. Everything went through the attorney. Documents were forwarded, timelines, verified accounts reconciled. Each platform received the same packet ownership proof correspondence notice of unauthorized listings. Responses came back in measured language, but the result stayed consistent. Ethan's accounts were suspended, then closed. He tried Rosa next. She called that evening. He came by, she said. "What did you tell him that I'm not getting involved?" He'd asked her to explain things to soften the situation, to talk sense into me. She declined without discussion. "That bridge isn't mine," she added. Another notice arrived 2 days later. A civil inquiry. Allegations of false representation and misuse of identifying information. Nothing dramatic, just process. Dates and instructions. A request for records. The attorney prepared the response. Everything went out in order. Receipts, logs, copies of refunds, messages showing where authority ended and assumption began. A meeting followed at a municipal office. No raised voices, no accusations, just questions asked and answered. The conclusion landed quietly. "You're not liable," the clerk said. "Your documentation is clear. That part ended cleanly." Ethan didn't. Messages kept coming. Shorter now, less confident. "They're coming after me. I need help. You know I didn't mean for this." No reply went back. Communication stayed filtered through legal channels where tone didn't matter and leverage didn't exist. Another platform sent confirmation. Permanent ban. Policy violation. Repeated misrepresentation. The leverage he'd relied on evaporated piece by piece. No access to the warehouse. No listings to manage. No buyers to promise anything to. Even the emotional pressure stopped working once there was nothing left to threaten. A text came through late afternoon. "Can we talk?" The phone stayed where it was. The final message arrived the next morning. "I didn't think you'd actually do it." It sat unread until evening. The consequences didn't arrive all at once. They came in notices, forwarded emails, and brief updates from the attorney. A civil file opened under Ethan's name. No sirens, no courtroom drama, just paperwork that followed him wherever he tried to start over. Calls stopped coming from buyers. Platforms had already closed their doors to him. People who once returned messages quickly now didn't respond at all. Reputation travels faster than explanations. The attorney asked whether criminal charges should be pursued. The option stayed on the table. Evidence supported it. The answer stayed the same. No. Boundaries remained firm. Legal distance stayed intact. There were no private meetings, no attempt to smooth things over. Communication stayed formal and filtered. That part mattered more than punishment. Final documents took another week. Releases signed, confirmations filed, a closing statement emailed and archived. The last appointment ended without ceremony. "That's it," the attorney said. "You're clear." Work picked back up on its own schedule. A small consulting contract needed review. A shop asked for advice on a retrofit. Nothing dramatic, just tasks that required attention and delivered payment without complications. The warehouse stopped being part of daily planning. No routes passed through that area anymore. Keys were gone. Insurance policies had been canceled. Maintenance reminders no longer arrived. An email confirmed enrollment in a weekend climbing course north of Phoenix. Dates blocked off. Equipment list attached. Something postponed long enough to feel unnecessary until it wasn't. Rosa checked in once. "You holding up? I'm moving forward." "That counts." No updates followed after that. A drive took me past the old lot one afternoon. Construction fencing stood where the gate used to be. Trucks lined up where cars once waited for inspection. The road didn't slow down. Paperwork from the consulting job needed a signature later that day. The pen waited on the desk. Forms stacked neatly. Another email arrived unrelated, asking for availability next month. The phone buzzed once more. A message from Ethan. No subject, just a line asking whether we could talk sometime. The screen dimmed before a response formed. The document on the desk came back into focus. A signature landed where it was supposed to. The next task moved forward.